Hey guys, welcome to lesson 831 day 1. We are going to go ahead and explore this whole idea of Polydoku today. It's not really actually like Sudoku, but it's just like a kind of a numbers puzzle in a way. And we're using it to learn how to divide polynomials. Basically, we're still using the generic rectangle that we've been using for a pretty long time now, except we've been using it to multiply, so now we're just kind of going backwards to divide instead. So just to go over multiplication first, make sure we're still fresh on it. If we were to multiply these two polynomials, 2x minus 3 times this stuff up here, we would go ahead and start multiplying to fill out the boxes. So 2x times 4x cubed is 8x to the 4th. 4x cubed times negative 3 is negative 12x cubed. And 6x squared times 2x is 12x cubed. 6x squared times negative 3 is negative 18x squared. Negative 2x times 2x is negative 4x squared. Negative 2x times negative 3 is 6x. Negative 5 times 2x is negative 10x. And negative 5 times negative 3 is 15. So now that I have filled out my entire box, it's time to add like terms. So we can see that these diagonals, hopefully you guys remember, they're always going to be like terms that we have to combine. So these x cubed terms will add together. In fact, those cancel each other out because negative 12 and positive 12. Let me also rewrite that, 8x to the 4th. So down here we will write everything all together. So negative 12x cubed plus 12x cubed, that just ends up being 0x cubed like we mentioned before, but I'll write it anyway just so we can see what happens to all of them. Negative 18x squared plus negative 4x squared, that's going to be negative 22x squared. 6x plus negative 10x is going to be a negative 4x. And then we just have a little 15 hanging out on the end. Doesn't have to combine with anybody. And so this is our answer. So if I were to just write this down here, we can go ahead and omit this 0 term now. It's irrelevant. So 8x to the 4th minus 22x squared minus 4x plus 15. All right, so now let's go ahead and start the actual division type stuff. If we have this puzzle instead, notice how we're missing pieces of the top portion. That's part of what we're trying to figure out here. But we have other kind of random pieces of information. You kind of just want to go through and figure out whatever you can. So, for example, up here, we can figure out this box just by knowing that there's an x here, and it has to multiply by this box to make 2x to the 4th. So you ask yourself, okay, x times what equals 2x to the 4th? And hopefully you would come up with 2x cubed, because 2x cubed times x, that's how we get the 2, and then 3 x's and 1 x will give us the 4th. Then down here, well, this one we know how to do. 2x cubed times negative 4 is negative 8x cubed. Then we have a 12x squared here, so we can use that to figure out this gray box. So we're like, okay, negative 4 times what equals 12x squared? Hopefully you would realize it's negative 3x squared. Okay. And then once we know that, we can figure out this white one. X times negative 3x squared is negative 3x cubed. Negative 2x times x is negative 2x squared. Negative 2x times negative 4 is 8x. And then we end up at a point where we're kind of out of information in these boxes to fill in the rest of these, but that's where this 12x down here comes in. Okay, this 12x down here is a hint to tell us that when we combine like terms in this box, like we did up here, we should end up with 12x, like 12 x's total. So that means that if we have 8 right now, we need to add some amount of x's to that to get to 12. That being said, we should know that 8 plus 4 is how we would get to 12. Okay, so we'll put a 4x there. Now we can figure out the rest of this. X times 4 is how I would get a 4x, and negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. So now I have pretty much everything I need. I have discovered that x minus 4 times this thing up here equals All of this, we don't know what that is yet. We haven't simplified, but I will go ahead and fill this part in first. So we have a 2x cubed plus negative 3x squared, or you could just say minus 2x plus 4. And then we can go ahead and combine some like terms here and do the thing. So these two will combine, well, let's move backwards, because, all right, so these two come together, make that 12. It's already there for us. This negative 16 is going to be over here. And then we'll move backwards just so we can fit everything nicely. So these two, 12 and negative 2, add up to make 10. So I'll put a 10x squared here. And these two, negative 8 and negative 3, x cubed, add up to make a negative 11x cubed. And then we had that 2x to the 4th in the beginning. All right, so we've found our final part to the puzzle here. So we'll just fill in this portion. So we have minus 16 out here, and here we have 2x to the 4th minus 11x cubed plus 10x squared, and then the rest. All right, so that is all for that one. Here we just basically discovered, we basically discovered that when we multiply x minus 4 times this stuff up here, we end up with this polynomial. Let's complete our artwork. All right, on to the next one. This one is complete Polydoku. We are literally doing a division problem here. We're asking ourselves 2x plus 5 times what is going to give us this polynomial. So in this case, we have to do a little bit more figuring out here because nothing inside has been filled out for us. Hopefully by now you guys have kind of been understanding that the highest degree term always goes in the very top left box. So we can just know that this goes here by default. Okay, and what we also know is that everything, when we add everything up in these boxes, will simplify to this polynomial. So we will use these to help us, just like we used this 12x to help us there. So now that we know that this 6x cubed is here, we can fill out this gray box. 2x times what equals 6x cubed? Well, that would be 3x squared, because 3 times 2 is 6. X squared times x is x cubed. 3x squared times 5 is 15x squared, and this is where we run out of information to fill out the rest. So that's when we used the stuff down here. We know that we need 7x squareds, and right now we have 15. So to get from 15 to 7, we have to subtract 8. So we'll do negative 8x squared. And that being said, 2x times negative 4, let's make that black. Negative 4x would help us achieve this negative 8x squared. And then down here, negative 4x times 5, that's a negative 20x. And again, we've run out of information, but we can use this negative 16x. This tells us that these two boxes should add up to negative 16x. So if I'm at negative 20, I have to ask myself, what do I need to add or subtract from this to get to negative 16? And the answer to that would be we need to add 4x. So we'll put a positive 4x here. So 2x times what equals 4x? That would be 2. And then 5 times 2 is 10. All right. And that is pretty much it. Now we've solved the division problem. We know that 2x plus 5 times this stuff, 3x squared minus 4x plus 2, would equal this big polynomial. All right. Oops. Okay, so now let's do one more of these and really talk about this whole multiplication versus division thing. So multiplication-wise, if I just said x plus 1 times x squared plus 2x plus 3 would equal this polynomial, that's one way to look at it. That's the multiplication perspective. But the division perspective is a little bit different, and typically we use the box to figure out what the answer is. So let's go ahead and set up our Polydoku here. So we would do x plus 1. And we're going to just pretend that we don't know what this is. And we're going to put our answer polynomial at the bottom. All right. So now we can go ahead and try to figure out what's going on in here. We know that the highest degree term always goes in the top left, and we can go from there. So that tells us that in here we need an x squared because x squared times x is how we would achieve this x cubed. X squared times 1 would be just x squared, and now we need to bring in the reinforcements from the bottom. We know that there should be a total of 3 x squareds. Right now I only have 1, so I need to add 2 more. All right, and then we can now figure out the gray box. X times what is 2x squared? Well, that would be 2x, and then 2x times 1 is 2x. Next up, bring in reinforcements again. We know we need to end up with 5 x's. Right now we have 2, so let's go ahead and add 3 more. And so the top box here has to be 3 because x times 3 is how I would get that 3x. And lastly, 3 times 1 is 3. So basically what I just did is I figured out that when I do this polynomial divided by x plus 1, my answer is this top gray portion, because that's what would multiply by x plus 1 to get this polynomial. It's as if I was looking at this, if I like divided both sides by x plus 1, that's essentially what we're doing here. That would be what's going on in this division format. All right, that is all for today.